Hey guys, Real Life here with another episode of Entitled Parents. Today we have two stories about pools and people using them without permission. Enjoy guys! Who are you and why are you in our pool? By Reddit user Peanut Butter Love Me. This was back in the days when you'd play with whichever other children you could find in your neighborhood until the streetlights came on. And then you'd run home before your mother started yelling for you to come in for dinner. I lived in one of the fairly nice homes in a newly built street where all of the homes were more or less the same and all had a pool, including ours. A few streets away, the houses were much less new, but I would frequent the park in the center of them. I made friends with another girl, friend 1, who lived next to the park. Her house did not have a pool, so on hot days she would knock politely on our door and bring a snack for us to share, and we would play in my pool for hours. There was another girl, EK, a bit younger than us, who would occasionally join us by playing in the park. She lived another few streets away from the park, but friend 1 was familiar with her and her large family of brothers and sisters who were both much older and younger than her. Friend 1 was very kind and would let EK play with us, but would never let her follow us back to her house and discouraged me from doing the same. Friend 1 told me that she and EK had been really good friends the previous year, but EK had stolen her favorite Barbie and had never given it back. A few weeks later, EK and I had become good friends despite friend 1's warning. On a very hot summer's day, I invited both friend 1 and EK over to enjoy the pool. Friend 1 showed up with her usual snacks and toys for us to share, but when EK showed up, she appeared at our side gate with not 1, but 5 members of her family. 2 of her younger siblings, maybe around 5 years old, and her 2 older siblings, a teenager and another few years older than us, all of whom ignored me and barged straight past me to dive into the pool and started playing around and making a mess. I remember I was a little stunned and went inside to let my mother know we would need more sausages on the BBQ for lunch for my friends. Of course she wants to know why. I could only tell her that EK had brought some friends. My mother was stunned and asked me if I had invited them. When I said no, she stormed straight outside and told them that only EK was invited, that she was fine to stay, but that they were rude to invite themselves and there was no way it was safe for the 2 5-year-olds to be unsupervised. I remember the teenager had a few words to say, but my stepfather stepped in and told him to go home. EK was dragged out by the teenager and left scowling daggers at me. A few days later, friend 1 told me a lot of the nasty things EK had been saying about me to her and the other children who lived in the area. I was so upset that I told my mother, who immediately took me over to EK's house to talk it out. EK's mother, EM, answered the door. I remember she invited us in, and I remember both mothers insisted we children apologize to each other for any mean words and that it was just a misunderstanding, etc, etc. All better now. EK and I played awkwardly for a little while our mothers chatted and had tea, as mothers do. Less than a week later, my mother, stepfather and I returned from being out for the day and heard whooping and yelling and loud music in our backyard. We walked in to find the back gate wide open, and EK and her entire family, I mean herself, her siblings, mother, aunt, uncles, at least 20 people, all fully clothed, messing around in our pool. There was food and rubbish and bottles absolutely everywhere. I remember my stepfather going red and immediately start yelling for them to get the hell off our property. I missed most of the argument. My mother sent me away so I couldn't hear the language that was being used, but I remember EM screaming abuse and calling us named. The G-rated version would be rude white trash snobs. Later, my mother explained to me that according to EM, somewhere in their conversation about the misunderstanding, my mother had somehow given the impression that since EK was welcome in our home, therefore it must be open to their entire family. So they had decided to celebrate an aunt's birthday in our backyard without asking us. We were terrible people for ruining the aunt's birthday party. Needless to say, my stepfather had to threaten to call the police before they would leave. EK never spoke to me again, and her younger siblings would throw rocks and sticks at friend 1 and I if they saw us at the park. TLDR, I made friends with EK and invited her to play with me and another friend in my pool. She invited some of her family and my mother made them leave. My mother and EM met to make sure EK and I apologized to each other, and EM decided that if EK was welcome in our home, then she and her entire family were too. We came home one day to find EM had invited their whole family, 20 people, to celebrate an aunt's birthday in our pool without asking us. We had to threaten to call the police before they would leave. Well, I understand why EK would invite her family with her to a pool because she's just a kid and she doesn't know any better. But for the mom to invite her whole family into someone's backyard without even asking, even if she thought she had permission to do so, is just downright rude and illegal. I'm surprised they didn't press charges. Your Yard is Now Our Park by Reddit user Kindred Flame. My partner and I purchased the house next door to my best friend. I had lived with him for close to a decade when his kids were babies, so they viewed my house as an extension of theirs and were in and out all day, every day. I have a more flexible schedule than he and his wife, so I have them in the mornings after school and on days off of school. I had a pool in my yard, and because my friend's kids were still little, I installed a retractable cover and made sure it was locked so they couldn't open it. My friend's yard had one of those wood fort climbing wall swing set deals and a large sandbox. Throughout the year, we spent most evenings outside, grilling, drinking, and watching the kids play, swim, whatever. One summer day, I came home from work a little earlier than normal and started to prep for dinner. I heard a knock at my back door, which was odd, since my buddy's kids never knocked. I went to see who it was and discovered a mom and 2 kids who looked to be maybe 5 to 7 years old. As I opened the door, she informed me that her kids needed to use the bathroom and that I needed to come out and get the cover off my pool. I was confused and asked her to repeat herself, and she said that her kids needed to pee and that they were hot and bored with playing in the sandbox, so I needed to open up my pool. I asked her why she was in my friend's yard and what made her think her kids were welcome to swim in my pool or use my bathroom for that matter. She got really bitchy and told me that she had moved into the house behind us and she had watched my buddy's kids come over all the time and I opened the pool for them. She insisted that since I was willing to open my pool for the kids next door, I should also open it for the children who lived behind me. I tried explaining the relationship between my best friend's family and mine. She claimed it didn't matter, that I had known them since birth and pretty much had helped raise them. I just needed to get to know her kids too and it would be okay. I told her no and closed the door on her. She spent a while knocking and fussing at me through the window and then had her kids pee in a planter on the side of the patio. When I still didn't react, she took her kids back into my friend's yard to play on the swings. I texted him to let him know what was going on. Right at the moment he was letting his 300+ pounds worth of new fees out into the yard without noticing the unwelcome visitors. The mom starts shrieking and climbs up into the fort, leaving both kids on the swings. She starts demanding that we put the dogs inside, and how dare my friend let his dogs out into his own yard when her kids are clearly playing there. He tells her to GTFO and calls the police. When the cops arrived, she put on the whole waterworks about how her kids are just looking for friends and my buddy's kids are somehow bullying her kids, even though they'd never met. That he invited her over just to let his dogs attack her children, blah blah blah. They eventually move her back onto her own property, then come back later to tell us they warned her about coming back. She lived in that house for almost a year before she and her husband divorced. During that year, I had to replace the lock over the pool cover controls 3 times, have a fencing company remove a gate at the back of my property that was meant to let the lawnmower through, and eventually pay a security company to come check on the yard anytime we were going to be away for more than a few hours. We found her and her kids in our yards repeatedly, but she'd leave when we got home. What finally resolved the issue was my partner catching her in the pool. She told him she knew the man that owned the house and that he had told her it was okay to swim. He told her he was married to the man that owned the pool and that it's not okay to swim. She apparently had a bad reaction to realizing she was immersing her sons in gay water. We didn't see her again after that. Well, since this lady thought that going into other people's property and using their things was okay, I'm wondering if she thought that other people going into her house and using their beds, their showers, etc., eating their food is also okay. Too bad we never found out. And I don't understand, even the police warned them about not coming back and she had bad experiences the first time she got kicked out when her friend let her dogs out, so why would she come back repeatedly just to use the pool and the swings? Like, does she get a kick out of that? Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next video and have a great day.